This is Andy Purewell for Boxing News. I'm joined by former world champion Carl Frampton here in Liverpool. Carl, it's good to see you. It's been a while, and it happens to be the last show between Frank Warren and Queensberry and TNT. How would you summarise the night's event?
A great bill. Good fights. The fight that I thought was going to kind of be the fight of the night was probably one of the worst fights I've seen in a long time. Charlie Edwards and Andrew Kane. I do think the right man got his hand raised, forcing the fight and trying to make the fight. I understand the tactics from Charlie Edwards as well, but yeah, I just think you need to do a wee bit more. And then obviously Nick Ball in the main one. Great performance against TJ Donaghy, still a very good fighter, although he's 38 years old. Can sting a bit, good, very accurate fighter as well. Good win for Nick Ball, he looked good tonight as well.
How was you assessing that fight? TJ Donaghy certainly seemed to have his success, especially in the first half of the fight, but it just seemed like Nick's relentless pace and pressure just caught up with him in the end.
Yeah, and he wasn't as relentless as we normally see him, and I think that was down to how TJ was fighting. Nick didn't want to get nailed with any of them kind of... TJ has this really wide base. Now I had a wide base, I hear people criticising boxers with wide bases, say you can't generate the power. I think it's bullshit. I think you can generate power with a wide stance, and TJ was doing that, not that he hurt Nick Ball tonight, but he just made him think twice about being as eager. Then obviously as TJ slowed down, Nick was able to do what he does. But in my opinion, he's one of my favourite fighters to watch, as is Andrew Kane, two guys out of the same gym. Yeah, I love to watch them.
I have to ask Carl, the end of that first round, the kick out, a lot of people feel that there should have been a harsher punishment taken on Nick Ball. A lot of talk online about a possible disqualification. What did you think?
At least there should have been a point taken off. You can't kick someone. I know TJ had him by the neck and was squeezing and holding the neck for a little bit longer than you're meant to, but these are the tricks of the trade. That's what you do in boxing. Boxers do it all the time. There should have been a point. There had to have been a... You can't kick someone, you know what I mean? It's madness. I hear the boys, I think it was Richie and Fletch, kind of saying good refereeing. I disagree. I think it was poor refereeing, and there should have been a point deducted at least.
I know that there's a lot of talk about Nick Ball and Inoue potentially squaring off. If we were to ever see that matchup, if Inoue stepped up, how do you rate Nick's chances against him?
I genuinely think he has a very, very good chance of beating him. I knew he's obviously would be coming up in another weight division, and you know that's the problem with guys that are multi-weight. There's a ceiling for you at a point. I don't think Inoue could go much further than probably feather, maybe super featherweight possibly. But styles make fights, and it's a bit of a cliche and an old saying, but Nick Ball's style gives Inoue nightmares. I think, genuinely believe that, and I think he could win that fight.
Would you make him the favourite?
People are going to laugh at me. Frampton's full of shit, but I would fancy him to beat Inoue. Yeah, he would be a favourite for me anyway. Bookies will maybe say different, but maybe there's a chance for me to win a few quid.
Somebody I'm going to bring up is Stephen Fulton Jr. because he's been calling for that fight for a while now. What would you make of the unification between Fulton and Ball?
Great fight. I know Fulton. I've done a lot of sparring with him. Lovely fighter. Nice boxer. Knows what he's doing. I think Nick Ball's style again and his relentlessness. And his height as well. You know, people talk about his height being a disadvantage. I think it's an advantage for him, especially how he fights. He remains small in that compact shell. I think that it would be hard to make an argument for Fulton winning that fight.
A couple of fights to quickly get your thoughts on. Eubank Benn, April 26th. How does it unfold? Who do you think is the favourite?
I think Eubank is the favourite, and a lot of it depends on how he makes the weight and what he looks like on the scales, and the £10 rehydration clause is going to be difficult for him. I've been kind of criticised a wee bit because I've been saying he's been boxing at 168. He hasn't. He's been boxing at 160. But the point I was trying to make was he has boxed at 168. And as you get older, you normally go up the weight. You don't come down the weight. So he's it's hurting him now to do 160. And I need to see what he looked like on a scale before I make a prediction.
A lot of talk about uSYK-dUBOIS 2 potentially taking place again. Just your thoughts, Carl, if we were to see that, do you think Daniel would right or wrong? Do you think this version of Daniel Dubois would defeat Alexander Usyk?
He has a better chance. He's a different fighter than the first Usyk fight, and we've seen him weather the storm. We've seen him, I don't know, it's almost like he's grown up or something, you know what I mean? And he's right in his prime now. Dubois and Usyk is a great fight. Does Usyk find a way because he's a genius and he always does? Or does this kind of reinvigorated Dubois get the job done? I'm not sure yet, but it'll be a great fight.
That's one from me, Carl. There's been a lot of talk recently about what's next for Callum Smith. Eddie Hearn said that he's had brief conversations with PBC about potentially facing either David Benavidez or David Morrell next. How would you rate Callum's chances against David Benavidez?
Benavidez, I think, is a difficult night for anybody. Callum Smith was put in an amazing performance against Buatsi in his last fight, but I think that Benavidez is, I suppose, probably equal in size to Callum Smith, which is something that he wouldn't be used to. A strong beast, brute of a man. Very difficult fight for Callum Smith, but no doubt he would take it, and he'd relish the challenge as well. I think that Callum will have a better chance of beating Morrell, but we'll see what happens.
Carl, I appreciate your time. Safe travels home, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, Carl. Thank you.